What's up, everyone? Another Camp Jansen Q&A coming at you. I'm Coach Matt.
I'm Coach Nick.
And we've got a bunch of questions that we are going to start answering for you guys and start hammering these out. So hopefully you guys like this. Add any questions, additional questions into any of the comments of these that we do. We'll add them to our never-ending list that we're compiling, and we will eventually get to them. So today, this question is what?
We're going to go with how to address tackling lagging body parts in training.
Lagging body parts. And I'm going to let you take this one first because this is your wheelhouse. And anything I want to add, I will add.
All right.
So take the floor.
So very first thing always is going to be mechanics. Always. This is the most common thing that I see in almost anybody that has ever come to me, whether or not as a client or just somebody that I'm training with, or even just watching people do stuff. It's always, you're just not connecting with it. You're not really knowing how to manipulate your body to get access to it well.
So poor execution.
Yes, it's usually the first thing, always the first rock to uncover, because it's the most easily demonstrated one too, where that's the first one that you can check the box on and go like, if there's all the other things that could go into whether or not you're building a muscle, there's like 1,000 reasons you could go into. Mm-hmm. But one that you can check off the list real quick is going, how are you doing the exercises that are actually trying to train this body part?
Yeah.
And very easily you can tell whether or not somebody's actually connecting or doing anything with it whatsoever, or if it's just momentum or being obfuscated to other muscle tissues, the pattern just does not line up whatsoever. Bracing is off, this, that, the other thing. Internal stability isn't there, overusing external stability, not actually gaining the ability to use their body right to gain access to the muscle in the first place, all of those types of things. So looking at execution, looking at body positioning relative to the implement. So it's going to change based on what implement you're going to use, whether or not it's directly opposed by gravity or it's manipulated by a cable and a cam. So dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, all the basic equipment that's just free weight movements, it's all going to be how you're positioning joints relative to one another, and then positioning yourself and the implement you're moving relative to gravity, and how you're aligning the muscle in the single joint systems that are doing the primary amount of work with that muscle tissue relative to where the efficient path relative to gravity, that implement is going to have to move for you to get it to actually target and hit and be moved by the prime mover that you're targeting. That's number one.
Dude, honestly, I think we could just stop there, because the rest, that's so much more important than the typical answer is going to be what? Train it more frequent, right?
Yeah, which actually I would say the opposite in most cases. Yeah. So,
I would too. No, I was going to say the same thing. Worry about the execution first, because we see it all day. You do it, I do it, Matt does it. We all do it here. I think that's one of the biggest things that separates us from other coaches is we spend the time evaluating execution. First and foremost, that's number one. For the most part, everyone is following some kind of split that actually makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And the frequency of hitting a body part you can only maximize that or just switch that around so much.
Yeah.
So the big difference is how are you executing a rep? And some parts that maybe went over some people's heads is what you're saying is, we'll just use the single arm, the thing you showed me, the single arm lat pull down. It's not just, this is not all you're worrying about. You showed me other things, foot positioning, the rib cage down, all kinds of different stuff. So there's different things you can do with your body within every movement that most people are not going to think about to put you in an advantageous position to train whatever it is you're trying to target, right?
Yep. And there's going to be a ton of those little details that are going to be different for every single type of pattern that's done, between a pull, between a push, between a squat type pattern, a unilateral squat pattern, a lunge type. Any and all of them, and then it differs by the implement used, whether it's free weight, whether it's cable, whether it's machine, what type of machine, how that actually works with you relative to the strength curve, resistance curve profiles. All of those things are going to have something to do with it. The way you're breathing, breathing or not, the timing, the degree that you are, whether or not you can dissociate breathing from bracing, and actually understand how to do both and do them in tandem the way that they're intended to be, and not just directly exclusive to one another and having to be together all the time and them being the only thing that's working. So, and having, really the better way to say that is having them both being the same thing and not understanding that they're two different things that are related that end up just overlapping, and that causes a problem in execution. But to get past like the execution type stuff and to just cover like the answer that most people are going to go with, like you mentioned.
Let's do that in another video.
Okay.
So let's stop there.
Another video.
We're gonna do a separate video. We'll just do a lagging body part series because we can go forever on that. So
Sounds good
I
to
think
me.
we'll stop there with execution because that's the most important. I definitely agree. And then we'll come out with another video after we get execution down. Then what are we looking at? Okay.